She prayed for 7 years. 7 years of tears. 7 years of shame. 7 years of pointing fingers. They called her cursed. They said her womb was barren, that no good could come from a woman whose husband died when she was only 3 months pregnant. But the night he was born, under a full moon, even the wind paused to witness. She named him Ebubechukwu, the glory of God. Adaora was only 21 when her world collapsed. Her husband, Obina, died in a ghastly car crash while rushing home to celebrate her pregnancy news. 3 months into her first trimester, she was widowed, alone, and without a stable income. The whispers began quickly. Her womb is poisoned. The child is cursed. But she refused to give up. After Obina's death, she refused to remarry. Her son Ebubechukwu was her only anchor, her only reason to keep going. She took odd jobs, swept markets, fetched water for neighbors, carried blocks at construction sites, anything to make sure her son had school books and a future. She once slipped on a construction site and hit her face against jagged metal. She lost her right eye. When people asked what happened, she'd say, "I paid a small price for my son's big future." Ebubechukwu grew fast, tall, strong, and unusually quiet. Teachers often said he was too clever to be normal. He won debates, scholarships, and community praise. Adaora was proud, but she noticed something chilling. He never looked her in the face, especially not the eye she'd lost for him. By 22, Ebub had dropped out of university and disappeared for months. When he returned, he wore gold chains, drove a black Lexus, and smelled of expensive perfume and secrets. "Where did you get all this?" Adaora asked. Heart trembling, he smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm making moves. Mama, it's our time to enjoy it now." For the first time in years, Adaora felt the warmth of hope. But it wouldn't last. One night, around 3:13 a.m., Adaora heard a knock. When she opened the door, a masked man held a red bag and whispered, "Your son said you should wear this." Inside was a white lace gown, freshly perfumed, and soaked at the hem with what smelled like goat's blood. Against her better judgment, Adaora dressed. She was driven in silence to an old mansion deep in the bush. The guards there didn't speak. The room she was led into was circular, lit only by red candles. A man in a black robe stood at the center. Then he removed his mask. It was Ebubechukwu. "Ebube, what is all this?" she asked, her voice cracking. He didn't answer. Instead, he raised a bowl and said, "You always said you sacrificed for me. Let it be complete." Before she could react, 4 robed figures emerged from the shadows. One pinned her arms, another forced her to her knees. "I gave you everything," she screamed. He whispered coldly, "And I'm giving you eternity." The ritual demanded a life, but not just any life, a willing sacrifice of maternal blood. But Adaora wasn't willing. The spirits grew restless. One of the candles exploded. A wind howled through the room, shaking the ground. The priest conducting the ritual shouted, "Her spirit rejects you. The bond is too strong." Ebube panicked. The spirits required something more. "Take her other eye," one of them growled from the shadows. Ebub hesitated, then grabbed the ceremonial dagger. In that moment, Adaora's tear-soaked voice rose above the storm. "May the gods bear witness to your betrayal." He struck. Her scream echoed into the void. But the ritual wasn't complete. Instead, the flames turned black. The priest screamed. Ebub screamed louder. Then silence. They found Ebub's car days later, engine still warm. Doors sealed shut from the inside. But he wasn't in it. Instead, the only thing inside was a pair of human eyes in a velvet box, and a note written in a familiar hand. "The glory of God was never yours to use. You took what was holy and made it unclean. You forgot the price of betrayal. She waited 7 years for you. Now eternity waits for you in return." The mansion was burned to the ground that night. Locals claimed they saw a red mist rise from the trees, shaped like a woman with one eye. The Oga of the village, an old man of 93 years, said no human did this. The gods have awakened. Ebub was missing. The priest who conducted the ritual was found dead, mouth filled with maggots, eyes wide open, hands curled as if still begging for mercy. The 2 other men who assisted in the ritual both were found days later, wandering the highway naked, muttering, "She's coming. She's coming," over and over until their tongues swelled and split down the middle. But of Adaora there was no trace. Ebubechukwu woke up days later in a strange room with no windows. Candles lit themselves. Voices whispered his name from inside the mirror. Every reflection he saw now had his mother's missing eye staring back at him. He tried to leave Nigeria. At Murtala Muhammad International Airport, he approached immigration, handed them his passport, and the officer looked at him strangely. "Sir, this passport says you died last week." The screen flashed his obituary. Confused, Ebub snatched the document, but the image on it had changed. His face now rotted. With a stitched mouth, he ran. That night in his hotel room, the wall clock stopped at 3:13 a.m., the same hour he first offered his mother. He didn't answer, then again 3 knocks, and then a voice. "Ebubechukwu, come and finish what you started." He turned slowly, the lights flickered. On the mirror was written in blood, "Sons who sell mothers never leave whole." Through an old herbalist who risked his life to help him, Ebub learned the truth his mother never told him. His family came from a long line of sacred keepers, protectors of an ancient covenant made with the goddess. Izimu, a guardian spirit of the womb. The firstborn of each generation was chosen not for riches, but for sacrifice not of others, but of themselves, to protect the village from dark spiritual forces. Adaora had hidden this from him. She wanted him to live a normal life. But the gods did not forget. By using the covenant for greed, Ebub reversed the blessing into a curse. He was now hunted not by men, but by generations of betrayed mothers, some of them walking the earth in silence, others waiting just beneath it. In a desperate attempt to escape, Ebube visited a powerful seer in Benin, who demanded only one thing before helping. Him. "Bring your mother's grave." "But she has no grave." The seer sighed. "Then bury your shadow, because that's where she lives now." Ebub didn't sleep that night. At every turn, he saw her face first as the one-eyed woman who labored for him, then as the bleeding figure in the ritual hall, then finally as something inhuman, her face cracked like clay, whispering, "Why wasn't I enough?" That night he woke up unable to move. He was tied to his bed by unseen ropes. From the corner of the room, a lullaby floated in, "Sleep, my son. The gods are near. Let your lies be buried here. I gave you breath, I gave you days. Now give me back what you erased." Ebub was never seen in public again. Rumors spread that he was now a shell, wandering the streets in tattered designer clothes, whispering to himself, "She waited 7 years. For this?" Others said he was trapped in an underground shrine, his mouth sewn shut, unable to scream as spirits feed on his dreams. But one last message showed up on Adaora's old Facebook account, posted years after her death. "My son gave me to the gods, but the gods gave him to me in return, and I will never stop watching." 3 months after Ebub vanished, strange things began to happen in the village where Adaora once lived. A large tree grew overnight on the foundation of the burned mansion, its bark twisted. Bleeding red sap. Every 3:13 a.m., people heard a child cry from beneath the ground. Women in the village began having nightmares of Adaora, whispering in a language older than Igbo. One night, the village priest had a vision. Ebubechukwu was trapped not in the land of the living, not in the land of the dead, but in the womb, not a physical one, a spiritual womb. The place where betrayed mothers kept their sons forever reborn into torment. Never able to rest, never allowed to die. Each scream they made was muffled by the silence of a mother who once prayed for them. Inside the womb, time is not linear. Ebub lives the same day over and over again. 1. He sees his mother giving birth to him smiling. 2. He sees her losing her eye, bleeding on a construction site. 3. He hears her screaming his name as he lifts the ritual dagger. He watches himself plunge it in. 5. Then he wakes up again in her arms as a newborn and it starts over. For eternity, in one loop he begs her, "I'm sorry. I was blinded by the world." But her face never changes. It stays soft, smiling, kind, but with one eye missing. Then she whispers, "I waited 7 years for you, now you'll wait forever for peace." In 2023, a group of teenage boys doing a TikTok ritual challenge in a forbidden part of the forest claimed to record a short video before their phones fried. The 4-second clip shows a tall man with hollow eyes and bleeding palms, whispering, "She waited 7 years. For this?" Then a voice behind the camera gasps and says, "Mama?" The footage ends. One of the boys never returned. There are stories you hear, and there are stories that hear you. This wasn't just about a mother and her son. This was about the price of betrayal, the power of a mother's love, and how far the womb can stretch, even into the afterlife. If you're watching this now, call your mother. Thank her, before her silence becomes the last thing you ever hear. Thanks for watching Hidden Horrors. If this story sends chills down your spine, subscribe for more true crime and horror stories based on real human darkness. Until next time, watch your shadows.